Do you ever feel like you're constantly swimming against the current? Like you're exhausted from fighting a battle you just can't seem to win? You push, you strive, you try to control every little outcome, but it only leaves you feeling frustrated and burnt out. Life can be overwhelming, and it often leaves us wrestling with stress and a deep sense of unease. But what if the secret to finding peace wasn't in fighting harder, but in letting go? There's an ancient Taoist wisdom that teaches us how to flow with the river of life, not against it. It's a secret that promises to trade that exhausting struggle for a surprising sense of calm and purpose. Let's be honest, our modern world is obsessed with control. We map out 5-year plans, optimize our schedules down to the minute, and track our lives with a dozen different apps. We're taught to set huge goals, to hustle relentlessly, and to try and bend the world to our will. From our careers to our relationships, the message is always the same. If you just try hard enough, you can make everything perfect. But this obsession with control has a price. We end up living in a state of constant tension, anxiously trying to manage every variable. We get angry at the traffic for making us late, we get frustrated when people don't act how we expect them to, and we're consumed by anxiety about a future we can't possibly predict. We are basically at war with reality, and it's an exhausting, unwinnable war. This constant striving is the source of so much of our modern misery. We trick ourselves into believing that contentment is just on the other side of one more achievement, but as soon as we get there, the goalposts just move again. Peace won't come from your life magically changing into what you think it should be. The problem isn't life itself, the problem is our resistance to it. Thousands of years ago, ancient Chinese sages offered a totally different path. In a small but profound book called the Tao Te Ching, a philosopher known as Lao Tzu laid out a way of life based not on fighting, but on flowing. At the very heart of this teaching is a concept called the Tao. So what is the Tao? It's not a god or a person. The first line of the Tao Te Ching famously says, "The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao." The best way to think of it is as the natural underlying order of the universe, the effortless, spontaneous way everything just is. It's the great river of existence. It flows through everything and everyone before returning to where it all began. You can't command the river to stop or change its course. Trying to do so is just a waste of energy. The great Taoist insight is that wisdom isn't found in trying to control the river, but in learning to navigate it with grace. Taoism teaches that our suffering doesn't come from the events in our lives, but from our resistance to them. Life is just a series of natural, spontaneous changes. The Taoist approach is to accept reality as it is, not as we wish it would be. This isn't about being passive or just giving up. It's an active alignment with the way things are, a practice that can dissolve our inner turmoil and lead to a deep, lasting peace. This brings us to one of the most essential ideas in Taoism, Wu Wei. It's often translated as non-action or effortless action, but that doesn't mean being lazy. Wu Wei is the art of acting in harmony with the flow of things, of achieving great things by taking the path of least resistance. It's the exact opposite of forceful, desperate striving. It's intelligent, it's intuitive, and it's incredibly effective. The best metaphor for Wu Wei is water. Water is soft and yielding. It always seeks the lowest ground. And yet, with enough time, it can carve through the hardest stone. Water never attacks an obstacle head-on. It just flows around it, without a struggle. It adapts its shape to any container. This is the power of Wu Wei. The soft and yielding will always overcome the hard and strong. In a storm, a rigid oak tree will snap, but the flexible willow bends with the wind and survives. So how does this apply to our lives? Imagine you're stuck in a nightmare traffic jam. The typical forceful response is to grip the steering wheel, curse the other drivers, and feel your blood pressure skyrocket. You are resisting reality, and that resistance is creating your suffering. The Wu Wei approach is to accept the situation. You can't change it, so instead of fighting it, you flow with it. You take a deep breath, maybe put on a podcast you love, and you let go of the need for the situation to be different. The outcome is the same, you're still in traffic, but your inner experience is transformed from stress to peace. That's the magic of Wu Wei. As the sages said, when nothing is done, nothing is left undone. Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually start doing it? Taoism is a very practical philosophy. Here are a few ways to begin practicing the art of acceptance in your daily life. First, practice active acceptance. When you're hit with a tough emotion or a difficult situation, your first instinct is probably to fight it or run away. Instead, just pause. Take a deep breath. Acknowledge what's happening without judging it. Simply say to yourself, this is happening, or this is a moment of stress. That simple act stops the cycle of resistance. It creates a little bit of space between the event and your reaction, giving you the chance to respond with clarity instead of panic. It's the essence of the Tao Te Ching's advice to accept misfortune as simply part of the human condition. Second, simplify your life. The Taoists believe that a cluttered life leads to a cluttered mind. When we simplify our surroundings and even our desires, we reduce the number of things we feel we need to control. Look around your home and your workspace. What do you actually need? What truly brings you joy? By letting go of the excess, possessions, commitments, desires, we find our energy is no longer scattered. This brings a sense of mental peace and lets us focus on what really matters. Third, get in touch with the rhythms of nature. If you want a masterclass in Wu Wei, just look outside. A tree grows tall without striving. The seasons change in perfect order without any force. Spend some time just walking in a forest or sitting by a river. Watch how everything exists in a state of effortless flow. Let that feeling sink in. By aligning our own lives more with natural cycles, eating when we're hungry, resting when we're tired, we avoid burnout and find a much more sustainable rhythm for our energy. Fourth, learn to embrace both sides of the coin. The Taoist symbol of yin and yang represents the idea that opposites are connected. You can't have light without dark, joy without sorrow, or success without failure. Our culture tells us to chase constant happiness and avoid all pain. But that's a fight against reality itself. Accepting that life will always have both ups and downs allows us to stay balanced. We're no longer completely devastated by setbacks because we see them as a natural part of the whole picture. And finally, let go of who you think you should be. The sage Lao Tzu said, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." We cling so tightly to rigid ideas about ourselves. By letting go of these self-imposed cages, we open ourselves up to grow and change in ways we never could have planned. Look, this shift from striving to flowing isn't an overnight fix. It's a practice, a gentle path of returning to a more natural way of being. If these ideas resonate with you, consider subscribing for more wisdom on how to navigate the modern world. And we'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments one small way you plan to practice flowing this week. For years, you may have been trying to swim against the current, thinking that more effort was the only way. Taoist wisdom invites you to just stop fighting. It asks you to turn over, to float, and to trust that the river knows exactly where it's going. Acceptance isn't about giving up. It isn't weakness. It is the ultimate form of strength, the strength to align yourself with the incredible power of life itself. It's trading the brittle stiffness of the oak for the resilience of the willow. By letting go of our desperate need for control, we don't lose anything. We gain everything. We gain a peace that doesn't depend on our circumstances. We find a deeper connection to the world and an unshakable calm inside ourselves. The river of life will keep flowing with all its twists and turns. By learning to accept it, you discover that you were never separate from it in the first place. You are the flow, and in that realization you'll find true freedom.